นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนะมัสสามิ Blessings, good evening. One thing you notice in the autumn time here, the trees, people say, are very beautiful, or a lot of the European trees, the leaves are changing colour. Japanese maples changing colour. Some trees, the leaves go red, some go golden, changing to different colours almost every day. So it's like a feast for the eyes. But on a deeper level, the trees are, or the leaves on the trees are dying. That's why they change their colour. Those trees, the leaves die and drop away, and for the next few months those trees will be bare. We say the trees are as if dead. And they're teaching us something, teaching us about the impermanent, changing nature of the world and the conditions of ourselves, plants, nature, the landscape, everything is always changing, arising, ceasing, being born, dying, changing. They call the Buddha the awakened one. So what did the Buddha awaken to? Well, we say he awakened to the Dhamma. The Dhamma is the truth. So those leaves that are changing colour, even though they may be beautiful for a while they take on a new hue, a new golden colour, they're also expressing the truth of impermanence. Where there is birth, there is death. Where there is arising, there's ceasing. Where there is progress and growth, then there's aging and degeneration. These things all come hand in hand. And the Buddha was awakened to the truth, the Dhamma. So he was fully aware, fully awake to that truth. And that truth, when known, when recognized, has an enlightening effect on the mind. Another change, you might say. When we pay attention to the truth, our mind changes. It improves. Because the opposite of truth is falsehood or delusion. What the Buddha pointed out was that everyone has the potential to realize, to know, to understand truth, the Dhamma. Your normal human mind is available. It can be trained, developed, to know the truth. But when we begin practices in an undeveloped, untrained state. That's why we have to practice. So when you meditate or just normally through your day, you'll notice there's times when you're lost in daydreams, imagination, thinking without awareness or mindfulness. Or other times when we're just dull, sleepy. At those times we can't know the truth because the mind is not awake. There's no mindfulness. We're not paying full attention. But then there's those moments when we drop the daydreaming, the dullness. We come out of that. We come out of the sleepiness. The mind awakens, wakes up. And in particular, when we practice mindfulness. So when you're practicing mindfulness of breathing, your mind is aware, paying attention to the in-breath and the out-breath. And then we say that's the awakened state that the Buddha was encouraging us to develop. And this awakened state can know things on this deeper level. You still see the golden leaves, but you also know that what they mean. They mean that those leaves are dying, drying out, they'll fall off the tree, and the tree will go dormant. Occasionally the tree dies because it drops its leaves and the winter is cold, but usually it's just dormant. It'll come back again in the spring. But when your mind is awake, you can see that. And so those leaves are ready for us to learn a lesson, to learn the Dhamma. And they say some people have even become enlightened, seeing the leaves drop off the trees. In a penetrating insight into the impermanent nature of physical and mental phenomena. Because everything is impermanent. So everything can teach us in that way. But to receive the lesson, the mind has to be ready, has to be awake. You'll notice when you are caught into your moods or your daydreams or sleepy, dull, you can't know impermanence there. You can remember the word impermanence, you can remember the words anicca, but you're not really knowing or seeing anicca because you're lost in your daydreams and thoughts. And this is why we practice mindfulness. This is why we learn to contemplate and prepare the mind for contemplation and reflection by bringing up mindfulness. Otherwise it's too difficult. We can only know impermanence through memory, remembering the words and the teachings, but not actually knowing it with our heart from moment to moment. So Luang Por Chah encouraged us to develop this awakened state every day, as much as possible. Get to know the awakened mind, experience it, and then reflect, contemplate. Bring your attention back to your own body and mind. The 5 khandhas: form, feeling, memories, perceptions, thought formations, and sense consciousness. These 5 aspects of experience are all changing all the time, but much of the time we miss it. We get lost more in the continuity of experience rather than the arising and ceasing of experience. So normally you don't look at your body as something that's impermanent. You remember your body and you can see it, feel it. People relate to you as some kind of permanent entity. That's just the conventional reality, the conventional truth. But because of this continuity, the impermanence of the body is largely covered up, hidden. It occasionally becomes clear, like when you have a big change in your body, like when you get ill, or you're feeling very hungry, or you have some aches and pains or something, then you might notice some aspect of impermanence. But most of the time you're just assuming it's my body and this continuous thing we call a body is always there, solid and as if unchanging. The same with the mind, thoughts and feelings. There's a continuity there, from one thought to the next, fed by memories and supported by feelings, sense consciousness. So it all seems like one continuous thing that we call me, myself. But the Buddha said, you make your mind awake with mindfulness and then investigate this to see if that's really the truth. Just like when you investigate the leaves and you go beyond just the beauty of the golden colour and you see that they're actually dying and fading away. And you look at your own body, this image or this idea we have that it's a solid thing, lasting, substantial thing. Investigate that and ask yourself, is that really true? Is that really the whole story? This is why the Buddha taught us to look at the 32 parts and the 4 elements of the body. Just to break it down into smaller bits to help with the contemplation and to help see impermanence. The impermanent nature of body and mind and the world around us is always there for us to see. The lesson, the teaching is always available, but most of the time we miss it. Every moment we breathe in, every moment we breathe out. That's teaching us impermanence. Or you run through the 32 parts of the body, your hair. When your mind is alert and awake, not dull, not daydreaming, you can consider your hair, the hair on the top of the head. However long or short, whatever the colour, whatever the state of that hair, you're now in your alert, mindful state, looking at it more as an impersonal object, hair. If you keep your attention with hair for a while, then the way your mind looks at it changes. No longer considering just whether it looks good or not, beautiful or ugly, the colour, the shape, the style, whether it's clean or dirty, smelly. When you investigate hair, you're coming to see it as a collection of physical elements that changes. And we know that because hair grows every day, gets longer. Even monks have to shave their head. But when you're calm and mindful, you can investigate hair of the head or hair of the body. Look at it in this impersonal, more detached way. And then you'll notice these things are impermanent. Hairs drop out, hairs grow, hairs fall out, hairs change. They clean, then they get dirty, then they get clean again. Skin and nails are the same. Nails we have to cut, skin flakes off all the time. Sometimes we scrape it off, sometimes it just flakes off by itself. And the rest of this body, the bones and the muscles and the sinews and the intestines and the heart and the liver, all the organs and the blood and the urine and all the parts of this body, one by one you can go through. And it's very possible that you can see now the body, the 32 parts of the body is without a self, or not making up a permanent, lasting self. Or you can go further, look at the 4 elements, the solid bits, the earth element, the liquid bits, the temperature and the air, mainly coming in through the breathing process. But again, all these elements are impermanent. They come together for a while as a human being, but even then, the human body is always changing, being impacted by things around, from the outside, from the inside. This is what the Buddha had us investigate, to see whether the basic truths he explained and taught already, whether they're really true. Because the Buddha could only lay out the truth for us to investigate, but we have to do that for ourselves. We have to do the work, the practice. Because that's what changes your mind for the better, makes you wiser when you really know and see for yourself. It's the same with consciousness. Like we have our 6 senses, the eyes, the ears, the nose, tongue, touch, and the mind itself. There are 6 doorways that bring different objects to the senses. And if you pay attention, your eyes are working and there's some light wherever you are, then your eyes can pay attention and sense the sense consciousness of eye consciousness, what they call Chakku Pasada, Chakku Viññāna, can arise. If all the conditions are right, you get a moment of eye consciousness. But then what does it do? The next moment it drops away again. It arises and ceases. If you're looking intently at something, well, you may have many moments of eye consciousness, so it seems like you're in charge. There's a person who is looking. But even as you're looking at something, if your mind drifts away to a mood or a train of thought or to one of the other senses, eye consciousness will rapidly disappear. Maybe you focus on hearing for a while or thinking. So consciousness is teaching us anicca, impermanence. Seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, arising, passing away. Mind consciousness gathers everything together, all the other physical sense data, and then the memories and the thoughts and the ideas. But the same. Objects, what we call Dhamma aramanas. Mind objects, objects of mind arising and ceasing. Is there anything that doesn't arise and cease? Well, normally speaking, no. Nothing in this world that doesn't arise and pass away. And that's why Ajahn Chah said everything is teaching us, because everything arises and passes away. That's the truth behind the golden leaves, and the impermanent nature of leaves themselves, of trees, of the environment, the world around us, impermanent. And whenever your mind is calm, you can investigate this. What happens when we're not very mindful, we're not paying attention, the eyes see something and then the next moment there'll be, oh, this is interesting, I like this, or this suits me, or this is interesting for me, holds my attention, or maybe you see something you don't like. So we fall into pleasure or displeasure, or occasionally we're just looking but not really much pleasure or displeasure, more neutral. But again, this is teaching us, isn't it? The impermanent nature of consciousness, arising with the eyes or the ears. Sights are just sights, sounds just sound, and so on. This is what we have to investigate, so that we're no longer just remembering the words of the Buddha, but actually knowing from moment to moment the arising and ceasing of feelings, perceptions, thought formations, thought constructions, and sense consciousness. And we use the word sankhara, formations or constructions, because the mind loves to construct and create. So that's the active part of the mind, again displaying impermanence. You have one train of thought, one intention, and then that passes away and something else will replace it. So again, the continuity gets us. And we think like we're constantly thinking in charge, deciding something, planning things, remembering things, forming opinions and beliefs about the world. It all seems like a continuous person with this sense of me, myself, at the center of experience. But as you investigate, when your mind is more calm, you're looking and saying, what's really there? It's actually consciousness in its different forms, thoughts, memories arising, passing away. Good mood, bad mood, excitement, boredom, interest, lack of interest. The one common theme is the changing nature of both physical and mental experience. So everything is teaching us when we're awake. This is what the Buddha was encouraging us to develop, the awakened state of mind. Not daydreaming, not lost in moods, not asleep, not dull, actually bringing attention to whatever's arising, good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, to know it. This is the nature of physical and mental phenomena. So the Buddha was encouraging us to develop this kind of understanding all the time, as much as we can, to break through delusion, to help us see beyond just the superficial appearance of things, the beautiful golden leaves. It doesn't mean to say the golden leaves are not beautiful, but that beauty is momentary. Once they fall off the tree, they disintegrate very quickly. That's the deeper truth, isn't it? They're impermanent. You notice in a monastery we spend a lot of time cleaning up leaves, sweeping, blowing, burning leaves, piling them up. They teach us something, but maybe they can also be a cause of suffering. When you're not very mindful, maybe your mind goes into, why are there so many leaves? You sweep the area clean and then a gust of wind and all the leaves are back down. Leaves are just leaves, but the mind, when we're not careful, can create suffering even out of something as simple as leaves. Leaves can block a drain or a gutter and then water overflows. Somebody told me today they have a problem with leaky roof. Sometimes it's because the leaves block up the gutter or the drain. Even leaves can create suffering, or just our opinion, whether we like the leaves, or we get disappointed when the golden leaves disappear, or we don't like the leaves, or we want leaves, or we don't want leaves. That's the mind. If we're not careful, even leaves can be a burden. We've got to clean them up, sweep them up, get rid of them. That's another burden, another creation of the mind. So even as something as simple as a leaf can teach us the Dhamma, help us to see our mind, our view, our opinion, how we feel, notice the body, notice the physical nature of the world arising and ceasing. So I'll leave you with these reflections tonight.